Have you ever looked up into the night sky and simply been full of wonder? Have you gone for a drive to see the changing color of the fall leaves and think, how can the ending of a season be so beautiful? Have you watched snow fall and been in awe of the intricateness of each individual snowflake? The evidence for God's existence is everywhere. As we look around us, we see God's handiwork in His creation. Psalm 19 is a psalm of praise to God. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Day after day, they pour forth speech. Night after night, they reveal knowledge. They have no speech. They use no words. No sound is heard from them. Yet their voice goes out into all the earth, their words to the end of the world. When David, the writer of this psalm, looked to the sky, he clearly saw God's handiwork. In this psalm, David is saying, look at what God created. If this is the creation, then how much more glorious must the Creator Himself be? You see, God speaks to us not only through His Word, but through His world. When we study God's world, we are discovering things that declare His glory, things that proclaim His work. We understand more of His character. And David says, it doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak, everyone can come to know God's glory through His creation. One way we can engage with nature is through science. We study His created order in a lab and discover new things about who He is. A good friend of mine has spent a lot of time in a lab studying one aspect of God's creation: plants. Let's find out more about her experience. So Katelyn, tell us, what is your job? What is it that you do?
All right. Well, I am a biology professor, and so that has two different aspects to it. And so one side is, like Kelly mentioned, I study plants. And in particular, I study how plants get sick, because plants do get sick too. And I study how some plants get sick and other plants don't. And by understanding that, we can help protect our crops from being lost to diseases, and we can have plenty of food to go around. And then the other thing that I get to do is I get to teach college students about biology. And I get to teach classes and labs and do research with students to help train them to be the next generation of biologists. And it's really fun. I really enjoy it.
What first got you interested in science? When did you know that it was what you were most passionate about?
Yeah, well, a lot of people might think a lot of scientists used to always be outside or playing in the mud or blowing things up when they were a kid. That wasn't me, but I did ask a lot of questions. And I noticed in about middle school, where a lot of you are now, that science class was always my favorite class. I liked going to science class, I liked what we learned, and I liked that it answered a lot of the questions that I had. And so going into high school, I still loved science class, and I learned that that was unique to me, that there were other people who dreaded going to science class, but they loved going to history class, which I didn't understand because that was my least favorite class, but it's important. And so I learned then, and I deciphered that into noticing that that's how God uniquely made me. He made me to like science, to enjoy it, and that I should listen to that, and maybe that's what I should go into. And over time, the passion grew, and I just love it, and I think it is how, God uniquely wired me to be.
Does your faith play a role in your job?
I view science as understanding more about God's creation so that we can better take care of it, which I think as Christians we're called to do, is to take care of other people as well as the planet, and that science allows us to learn more about that so we can do a better job of that. And so in my work, I like learning about plant diseases so that we can learn how to keep plants healthy, so that we can feed people as well as do so in a way that, keeps the environment happy. And so I definitely think my desire to learn as well as take care of God's creation is really what has driven me towards science.
And can you tell us, what have you learned about God through studying His creation?
Oh, so much, but I study really, really small things. So many of you, maybe in your science classes, have learned about cells. And cells are these teeny tiny little building blocks that make up everything that is life. And I study what goes on inside those little teeny tiny building blocks, all the way down to particular molecules and what they do and things we can't even see with a microscope. And I think that's really fascinating to learn about these intricacies of God's creation beyond the beautiful trees and the mountains and all of that, actually down at this little teeny tiny level that God is so intricate and everything is so specific and tiny, and I think it's just amazing. My mind gets blown every time I learn a little bit more about that.
Katelyn, thank you so much for spending time with us. It was really nice being able to talk to you. And we hope that you have a great time in your 4-to-1 discussions.